they would see somebody come into the elevator and their conversations will just stop because they're not sure this person might be internal affairs. So in other words, these are people working among you on a daily basis, but their role is to observe. Unfortunately, that's the only way you really effectively deal with it. You basically have to have persons inside spying on police to keep them in line and keep them in check. That's how a proper internal affairs division works. We don't have that presently. Everybody knows who the supposed internal affairs. So in other words, you're just like
coming tomorrow.
you just work around them. That's right. You work around them. So it's not effective at all. We need to change that and introduce that system. So it could be if you bring them in as your civilian staff, it could be that, okay, this person is just a typist sitting in the office typing, but their role and function is that they are an internal affairs officer, but under the guise of being a typist. And unfortunately, that's the only way you're going to police the system.
Maybe sometime yet for us to reach that stage. But certainly it should,
what happens when the person is related to the commissioner or related to the senior police officer?
But Mr. George, there has been discourse with loss of arms and ammunition at police station. In Tobago, I know that at present, we have an officer who was in charge of the ammunition. I think he's on suspension. In Trinidad, in some stations, I could call St. Joseph.
St. Joseph Station, that's one for sure. Then you had one in South. And then, of course, the big one was the Forensic Science Center. 40 firearms disappeared. And again, wait, just now, again, the investigation is ongoing. And when they ask for an update, oh, it's at a highly sensitive stage. That's the same nonsense they trot out every time when they don't have answers. Oh, we can't say anything because it's highly confidential. Please, you're not solving anything. You look at the detection rate within the police service, it's abysmally poor because they are not doing their jobs, plain and simple. How many undercover officers do you have actively out there, trying to gather the information that is necessary to bring it back to solve the crimes? They don't want to do that. Everybody wants to sit down in the station. They have cable TV, they have air condition. When you go upstairs, they have beds. Man, life is nice. Yeah, why should they bother to go and do the hard work?
True, but the point I want to make here, Mr. George, or following the point I want to make here, there was some talk that officers would have lodged weapons at fire station at police station for safekeeping. When they go back, it's tampered with, some of the ammunition may be short.
And that is a fact. I can tell you, it is a fact. It does happen. It has happened. And again, it shows the recklessness and the lack of accountability which we have within the service. And the police officers themselves know that, look, even if there's an investigation, nothing ever comes of it, so therefore they are comfortable to continue what they're doing. They then now might rent your gun or lend your firearm to persons out there in the criminal underworld who will use your weapon, then they put it back, or sometimes it may not come back at all.
Until you return.
Yeah, that's the point. So it's really ridiculous. It's really, really ridiculous, and we need to do a lot to change that. But what I would say for Tobago, I want us to look at the issue of security in Tobago in the sense that, as far as I'm aware, there's no secretary specifically assigned as a secretary to deal with Tobago security. We need to create something of that nature whereby we start taking charge of security issues in Tobago. You'll recall I mentioned previously that the THA should set up a victims support unit, right? Separate and apart from whatever the police service is doing. Because in other words, if the THA is your main manager and administrator of Tobago, then they must have a security arm or security division. You can't just sit back and say, well, okay, you're leaving it to the police. What are your strategies? What are the things that you are recommending in conjunction with the police service to work together to improve security in Tobago? We have had too much money and too much, resources being pumped into the THA for the abysmally poor results that we keep getting from them all the time. I hear them speaking about having to make cutbacks because of the falling oil prices and the falling oil price and the economy of Tobago. And I find it ludicrous. What economy does Tobago have? really, fuel and oil prices affecting us? It doesn't matter. We wait on a handout every year from Trinidad. So it's what Trinidad gives us, that's what we work with. So whether oil prices fall or rise, it may just mean that they may give us less or give us more, but that has no direct bearing on Tobago's economy, because Tobago does not have an economy, plain and simple.
But we must get a certain amount, the th must get a certain amount, 4.0.
Right, in terms of the percentage. But then if the overall budget is lower, then obviously your percentage becomes lower. So.
Sure.
Now, with the introduction of cable, we see shows on cable TV, Law and Order, CSI, all of these shows. These shows coming to the public have allowed us to see, I guess, the way it's done and the way things are done in the U.S. How quickly crimes are solved according to TV time, probably. But the importance, the level of importance, the level of efficiency that is executed to solve a crime. Does that happen, and any of that happen, or is that just TV for us? Does any of that happen here in Trinidad and Tobago, or in the Caribbean?
What we have in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a very nice scenario whereby we have, I think, they're actors. They dress up in these lovely white suits from head to toe, gloves, everything.
Forensics.
And they look fantastic.
Yes.
They really look good. But I assume that they are all paid actors because they never solve anything, you know, but they put on a fantastic show at every crime scene. You know, they tape it off, they cordon off the area, and they come out in their lovely white, and, you know, they're looking busy doing nothing as far as I'm concerned. Because if you are not producing the results, what investigations are you really doing? What scientific analysis are you bringing back which can now help us to solve the matter? If you're not doing that, then you're wasting time.
But I'm glad that you bring that up, Mr. George. And one of the things that is going on in my mind all the time is a database for Trinidad and Tobago, you know, a human database. Whether you would take our fingerprints when we go to do our ID cards, and so you have everybody's fingerprint. So when the fingerprint is seen, you can match it against something. Because as you rightly said there, what is the evidence being matched against? Is it the known criminals or the so-called criminal gangs that you know you would match the database to see whether it's one of them who commit the crime? I don't know what are your thoughts on being in the commission, you know, but I think that there should be a broader base, a broader scale of people, number of people. And I think the Minister of National Security can recommend that, you know, once you didn't infringe people's rights, I know you are a lawyer, right?
Well, that is exactly what I was thinking, because I think most people would object to that on the basis that it appears to be trespassing, first of all, on your right to privacy, plain and simple. Because if you are not a suspect or not in any way connected with anything criminal or remotely criminal, then you may ask, why does the government or the state want to keep my fingerprints on file? I mean, of course, the counter argument may be, and I mean, I could very well see the officials of maybe the Ministry of National Security saying, well, if you have nothing to hide, then what are you worrying about? But it doesn't matter. The point is, if that's your right to privacy, then that's your right. And if you choose to exercise it, then, you know, I think that certainly you're entitled to do so. So I think that might be a difficult one.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you, but we seem to be cutting, you know, because we have to give, you know, the legal profession has to give sometimes, you know, so that we can maintain order, right? And I think, you know, the people's rights would be looked after by you and by other lawyers. So even if I give my fingerprint and something unwarranted is done to me, I'll come to you and say, Mr. George, yes, the government has my fingerprint, but I wasn't the person who so and so and so, and you would defend me. But to withhold the print, then what would these same people in white what is the basis that they are working on? Just in a vacuum? They must be working towards something. And then if I didn't commit a crime, I have nothing to fear, really.
Yeah, no, well, they would be working with the fingerprint records office, the criminal records office, which has fingerprints of known perpetrators. Yes, that's it, known perpetrators.
I'm saying that they should broaden it because what is happening now, if you notice now, the police are not solving crime because they don't have 99% of the fingerprints that of people who are committing
I'm
crime.
not sure it's necessarily because of a lack of
that could be part.
fingerprints. I'm not necessarily sure it's that. I think it's just a lack of basic police intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's a lack of basic police intelligence, and I use that in two senses. Police intelligence in the terms of intelligence gathering, and police intelligence in terms of basic common sense. I have seen, unfortunately, I've seen many officers approach investigations from the most obtuse and absurd angles. They just lack basic common sense, and that's a problem.
But doesn't that speak to the level of training?
You wonder whether they have interest.
It's the training, and I guess the product that you start with.
But sometimes I wonder whether they have interest in the investigation as well, the way they move opposite to
you also have to wonder at that. So there's a lot we need to do to correct it within the police service. But as I say, the THA should not sit back and wait for the police to do everything. They have to be proactive in terms of security for Tobago, because I tell you, that's what you are selling Tobago as. Safe, serene, secure. If you don't have that, trust me, you don't have any product to sell.
All right, well, Mr. George, we're getting ready to wrap up with you.
Sure.
Now, this is the first interview with you for the year, and we're looking forward to many, many more in 2015.
Certainly.
So your dream, your hopes for Tobago for 2015?
Well, 2015 is an election year for Trinidad and Tobago, and I think that Tobago needs to have proper choices in terms of determining the way forward. And that's something that we have to take in a very serious context, because I've always said Tobago must show the lead. Tobago must take its role and responsibility as leaders of Trinidad and Tobago. We've had individuals who have risen to the highest positions of authority in Trinidad and Tobago, but as an island, we have to start taking the lead.
Sure.
All right, but thank you so much this morning, Mr. Martin George, attorney at law. Viewers, we want to apologize to you this morning as we take our break. We've got no Rise and Shine Morning News, but we'll be back just after this, and we'll be chatting with Mrs. Vanilla Allen Toppin, Minister in the Ministry of the People and Social Development, and our MP for Tobago East. Stay tuned. Join us just after this. What happened there?